Hey guys, welcome to my OFI video for round 3 at Netherlands. My name's Oscar King, and I'm just making this video to kind of show everyone my POV for those that are interested, those that are following the series along this year. Um, so as stated, this is round 3. The first two rounds were at Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. We've scored a few points. We got a podium at Bahrain, but we're hoping to build on that, make a championship run. So we're starting our first Q1 lap here. Uh, we went out straight away in Q1. You know, just the way the field is, there's quite a bit of a skill gap throughout the field. I decided to just go out straight away. It's not what you would do conventionally, but we just went out straight away. Want to get a run in. So this is our first sector here. It's not bad. It's a little bit undercommitted. We're looking to just get a run in. You can see in turn 3, just backing off our entry a little bit. It's still a zero in the first sector, which for a banker run in Q1 is respectable. But we're just looking to get a run on the board here, and uh, yeah, the OFI this year, it's really just it's taking a step up every year. The quality of the driving throughout the grid is really been impressive from the region. Um, so coming into the first sector, we've done an 8-1 split. That is also respectable enough for the run. This should come out to about a 5. And sadly, that is the best executed run I do of the entire qualifying session. Um, Not really what we were after, but you will see that the runs only get worse and worse from here. And so now we're straight into Q2. Same again, we went out straight away, um, and we've dived it into turn 1. You can kind of take any line you want through there. If you go wide, it's fine as long as you're able to kind of keep it together for the exit, not get caught on the exit curb. Um, As you can see, those of you who might have watched the stream or know the game well, at Netherlands you want to do a double outlap. It's just the best way to warm up the tyres. And you can see that our best lap is a 27.1. Obviously, that's our time of our second outlap. Um, and that's really slow. So my warm up was really compromised for this lap. And that kind of adds to it being a little bit undercommitted. It's still fine. It would have been well enough through. But you'll see in the last corner, we throw it all away for absolutely no reason. As you can see, we're hitting the gravel there. It's just not a good lap. Um, and then in the last corner, we fly off, and it's just there's no reason to do that. It's just yeah, it's just unexplainable. So then we have to go again. I think this was a used tire. Yeah, we do a 5.9. I mean, look, it's enough to get through. So um, we're into Q3. And so now this is our first run of Q3. We've got two sets of tires to use. Um, and here we go. We want to get a really good banker on for Q3. So into turn 1, third gear. Just a little bit of an early apex, but it was fine. It was okay. You can see that we're using really high revs in this section of the track in turn 2 because it keeps the car really stable, helps you wrap the bottom of turn 3. That's how you gain time out of that corner. And so this is a decent first sector. It's not my best at all, but it's a 9.7. It's fine. Um, and so flat out through this middle sector, uh, and here into turn 9, you lose the rear. We just get caught on the curb, and you just pinch the rear. And as soon as you do that on this game, you just lose so much time. You can't recover it. There's no play on the rear. And so yeah, this lap is more or less in the bin, and then we fly it into the gravel and can't leave the corner either. So yeah, it's just a poor lap. There's nothing else to be said. And so yeah, this is not going to get us pole at all. Um, and yeah, it comes out to a 8.4, which is very poor. I was very disappointed. And so now, like, I felt like I had the pace in qualifying for, the first time on this whole game. Um, Obviously, I don't race much, so it's very hard to kind of have that bottle, have that nerve going into these qualifying runs um, when you're not used to racing so much. So coming into our last lap here, I really wanted to put a strong effort on the board, something that I knew I could do, that I was doing consistently in practice. So into turn 1, we just brake early and it's just bad. We just hit the curb on the inside, dumped 2 tenths, to the gods, and I mean, look, it's lap over. Even if we did a perfect run to the end here, we're doing no better than a one even, which is disappointing. And you're like, this is almost a two first sector. It's just not it at all. But we have to try and get a time on the board, so we're just we're pushing 100% now. We know there's heaps of time. You can see we've just gained a tenth and a half in turn 9 there, and then in turn 10, it's just undercommitted. We're correcting on the exit. Um, and now into the last sector, it's a 6-9 split. It's just woeful. And then we hit the gravel again. This time the exit wasn't as poor. We haven't slid. So we're finally green on our very poor run now, and then we go wide. We almost invalidate just like we did at the start of Q2, and it's going to be a high 3 at best. And look, I was pretty shattered with this result. I'm not going to lie. I really thought I had a good chance for pole, and as you'll see, pole was a 2-0, which is not a good run. I think all of the top guys were really disappointed um, with our efforts there, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, pole's a 2-0. I mean, it's close for pole, but pole absolutely should have been like a 9, or at least a 0, you know. Um, but yeah, so we're P5 for the race. And yeah, we've got Riley and Greg on the front row, and then we've got the two Tez boys on the second row in Campbell and Jack. So going into the race, the crucial kind of decision was the tyre selection. So as you can see, there's rain coming, and the important thing here is the medium are the mediums going to make it, right? Because if they're not going to make it, then you have to go the hards. And so I made the decision that it wasn't worth the risk to go the mediums as the race starts here. Riley gets a poor start, and Campbell gets up his inside immediately. Um, if you go the mediums and you can't make the rain, then you're really in a bad way. So I decided to go the hards. Riley and Greg are also on the hards. Um, Riley and Jack fighting into turn 3. I'm just keeping well out of this. I don't want any part of this. I want to keep my nose clean. Um, So, yeah, as it turned out, Campbell and Jack went for the mediums, and that ended up being the right call because they do make the rain. And the hards here, the C1 tire, they really just don't fire up. They're a poor tire, in all honesty. Um, yeah, this is the first lap. You can see Jack is trying to make the progress on the medium tire, try and get past Greg, and connect the train with Campbell. Um, and yeah, we're just looking to stay in the train, preferably stay in DRS with the medium tyre runners, and also defend position from anyone coming from behind, potentially medium tyre runners coming from behind as well. There was a good mix throughout the field of medium tyre runners and of hard tyre runners. And so yeah, you can see up front, Jack into turn 1 is making the move on Greg. So the medium tyres have made the progress immediately, and it's the job of the hard tyres to try and bridge that gap. So now onto the end of lap 5. Um, it became apparent that Jack, even though he had the medium tyres, didn't quite have the pace. And so you can see Riley as well is trying to make progress. And yeah, they're fighting really close, and I really didn't want to have any part in this, to be honest. Um, you can also see behind that there's battles going on. So if I can try and be a part of breaking the train behind as well, that's useful for my race. And so now going on to lap 8 into turn 1 again, more progress is trying to be made because, like as you can see, Jack is just holding us up now, even though he's on the more performant tyre. Campbell is off into the distance, and I'll be honest, I actually thought that maybe he was trying to hold us up for some reason, but I don't think that was the case. I think he just didn't quite have the pace. So again, now going on to lap 9 into turn 1, uh, Riley is trying to make that double pass in this contact. And again, I'm just trying to keep my nose clean. Like, I'd love to be able to make progress to, like, make the likelihood I catch Campbell later on in the race higher. But yeah, you can see I'm kind of angling for a move there, but it's just not going to work out. The section of track is too tight. And now as Jack is third man in the train with DRS, it's going to be tougher to make an overtake. But that's okay. The importance, especially with this game, is really just patience. You have to be patient. Um, you can't afford to make a move that's going to separate you from the train because you're just never going to catch up. Um, and so, yeah, we've still got a fair way to the rain. I was checking the weather report many times. Like, we didn't have an engineer with telemetry, so um, like I've just got to rely on the in-game estimate. And so now, coming on to lap 10, uh, again, I'm angling to make progress. You can see I'm burning the battery. I'm actually trying to like get past Jack because I know his tires are going off. Uh, and so he goes down the inside of Greg, who didn't have any DRS, and you can see that they make contact, and Greg gets half spun, and I mean I don't really know how that situation was recovered, to be honest, but there's now the two cars behind me, and you can see in a second that Jack does let back past Greg because I mean that was his fault. Like I made no contact. He's just kind of straight line Greg, to be honest. And so now at this point, uh, I'm second man in the train. Now I have to work with Riley to kind of DRS swap to catch up to Campbell and reconnect the train um, to get back in the hunt for the win. And I know that also, with rain on the way, um, we've got to make that progress now because if the rain comes and the DRS gets turned off, then we're going to stop making progress and have to rely on the tow and just raw pace to catch up to Campbell. Um, and that's not ideal. So then you can see that Riley makes a massive, massive error bottoming out on the exit curve of the last corner, and somehow he actually kept it out of the wall and didn't get damaged there. But that's again really poor for my race because I need someone to work with, and we've just lost like 5 tenths to Campbell. And moving on to lap 18, it's raining, and now we're driving on the slicks. You can see we've caught up to Campbell. There was we DRS swapped me and Greg, um, and also we had the more performant tires as the crossover point hit. Finally, the hards became the better tire. And you can see me checking the weather report. It's really important to get this crossover lap right to go onto the inters. And even though you can see that the conditions are wildly treacherous, um, the slick tires are still more performant. Got the DRS. In fact, there was actually a risk there of losing the rear in the banked right-hander with the DRS open because you drop so much downforce on the rear and such a lack of grip. So into turn one there, I could have gone for a move. I would have had to invest a lot of battery to do it, and Campbell would have had to let it go. Um, so I didn't end up going for it, but often with rain coming, you want to try and make that move because by the time the rain comes and DRS gets turned off, it's going to be harder for the front car, so for the second car to make that move on the front car. Um, I did feel like I would have the pace to make that move anyway, um, but so that kind of factored into the decision why I didn't end up going for that move there. But as you can see, the conditions are continuing to deteriorate, um, and it is becoming apparent that it is going to be pitting for inters this lap, which for Riley as the Mercedes behind Campbell, that's another car that we're not going to have to worry about later on because he's going to have to double stack, and as you'll see, like this is the correct lap to box, and by not boxing on the correct lap, Riley's about to lose, about 5 seconds. Um, right on the back of Campbell, we're about to pit. Uh, and yeah, that concludes a pretty successful stint. I mean, we capitalized off other people's mistakes. We don't speed into the pits. That's useful. Um, and so we're P2 coming out on the inters, expecting to probably run them to the end, but we know that it might be possible that we need to put slicks on later on. Um, And yes, we're coming out in inters. It's different grip conditions. The inters have a different balance to them. We're not sure if we're going to come across traffic. We don't come across traffic. There's nothing coming through. But um, now it's because of the drier conditions. It's still wet, but it's just drier than it's about to be. It's as DRS disabled. It's very important that we save the tire, especially if we have to get to the end. So we are straight into tire saving. We want to save the tyre as much as we possibly can. And so on the lap 22, you can see that it's getting a bit wetter. We've maintained our gap with Campbell. We're still on his rear, and Greg's right behind us. Now, as you can see, Riley's dropped back because he had to stay out, but Jack has dropped back from the train, and he came out of the pit straight behind this train. Um, so not sure what's going on there, but that's just one less car we have to worry about. And so now going into turn 10, Campbell hits the grass on entry and loses the rear. He stays in P2 because Greg also made a mistake and in that corner on this lap hit the grass as well. So we've taken the lead. I was starting to angle for a move into turn 1. You can see I was saving the battery, preparing that move. But that's not an easy move to make. You know, we probably would have had to hold around the outside. But now it's us in the lead, and we're having to defend from behind. So we burn the battery here straight away. We know the Campbell's really close behind with the toe, and so we're defending. And so we hold to the inside, we let him take the outside, we move to the middle of the track to open up the corner, and then we're just holding to the middle of the track, trying to cover up the switchback. You can see he does get alongside, but we have just enough exit speed um, carried out of the corner to defend that into turn 2. And so we're clear in the lead here. Now it's just about saving tyres, saving battery for this battle into turn 1. You can see he's attacking us again at the start of lap 26. It's the same thing. Hold to the inside, come to the middle of the track, prevent any switchback, and yeah, we successfully do that there. The important thing is, as the lead car, can't save tyre. As a car behind, you save a lot more tyre, and I was really conscious of that, trying to save as much tyre as I possibly can. This is a long way for the Inters to go, especially given how much dry conditions we're expecting, where the tyre overheats and is simply just going to wear. And as you can see, into that corner, Campbell and Greg make a bit of contact, and Greg gets past, so we're actually able to build a little bit of a gap here, which turned out to be quite critical because right now I know that I can save more tyre and be under less pressure going into turn 1. And so now we have an 8th, 10th gap to Greg behind, which is critical. Yeah, and as you can see, we're just it's such a fine line between being able to drive well and save the tyre. And now, as you can see, we're onto the end of lap 33 here. We're skipping on. We're going to run on board for the rest of the race, because these are the crucial moments, the crucial corners. And so Greg is right on us. We hit the curb. We've got a poor exit. We know that he's going to be right on us into turn 1. And as you can see, it is almost bone dry. It is still just into conditions. It wasn't good enough for the considering dries. Um, and yeah, we're defending and we break way too deep, and we're just trying to hold it together here. Our rears are gone. They're overheating, and so we leave space in turn 2. It's critical that we get the inside here for turn 3, because if you have the inside, you have all of the grip, um, and yeah, we hold on to the position. But now we've invested the battery to keep defending, because with our poorer tires, if we lose the track position, we're not going to get it back. And so now we're back in a non-battery. We're having to save again, um, and just managing the temps as best we can. You know, trying to minimize the sliding where we can. But at this point, our rears are probably at 90 degrees, and your balance is completely gone. You've got all of the front of the car, and so now there's 2 laps to go. Uh, what what I hadn't been considering mid-race was the risk of actually DRS turning back on. Um, because if that happens, this whole ball game changes. Um, and as you'll see, the DRS does eventually come on, um, which is it was a shock when it happened. Um, it really shouldn't have been, because it is drying, and almost dries are better at this point. Um, and unfortunately, we can't go onto them because it would have been a lot more comfortable. Uh, but yeah, we just had the gap there into turn 1, and so we've only got to survive one more time into turn 1, and we're going to secure this victory. My first in a major OFI event. Um, so the nerves are there. You've got the shaky legs, the shaky arms. At this point you've been driving for like 2 hours. Quali started almost 2 hours ago at this point. Um, it really is a kind of a different kettle of fish racing in these kinds of events, and I'd encourage anyone in the Oceania region who takes their F1 racing seriously to give it a go, because it's just wild. And as you can see, the tyre warning the tyre wear warning has just popped up. And so that means we're hitting 60%. Our tyres are gone, and all of that wear is on the rear as well. So our balance is shot. And this is a critical corner. This is one of the biggest moments of the race. Is if I mess up that exit, he's going to be close to coming into turn one. And you can see I'm deficient on battery compared to maybe previous laps. And so I'm burning and I'm holding the inside, and he comes to the outside, and the same as moves before, we're just covering off that switchback, and Gregory and Campbell are side by side now, and they make contact, which is brilliant for us because we're able to, get a gap. And as I said, the DRS risk, if there's DRS at any point, that's pretty much like we can't defend that. And so now we're trying to save the battery just for the run into turn one in case we make an error out of turn one and are going to need that battery. Or, well, you'll see. So we're just trying to hold it together here. You can see the gap is still at a tenth and a half going into turn 9 here. And we're just saving the battery as much as we possibly can. Like we have been every lap, trying to hold it together. We know that Greg and Campbell are going to have much more performant tyres, having been behind, and we're sliding all over the shop. We've lost our entire lead into turn 11 there, and the DRS is enabled. So at this point, I'm thinking it's race over. Like, how can we possibly defend this? We've only got 50% battery, and they've both got the DRS on, and you can see they're just not making overspeed, and we're going to make it to the line somehow without the DRS, and we've won. And honestly, I could not believe that we had enough battery there. When the DRS was enabled, I thought it was over, because really it should be. And so afterwards, I spoke to Campbell and Greg about that last lap, and Greg simply didn't have the battery. So he had so much pressure from behind from Campbell that he just didn't have the battery coming out of the last corner. So the DRS was not good enough, and he also kind of lost the rear, as I mentioned earlier, in that right hand in the banked right hander. And so that compromised Campbell's run because he did have the battery, but so he got to P2. But yeah, we just had enough battery, and I suppose got a little bit lucky. If that race goes a little bit longer, then we are not gonna have the tyre to defend. So anyway, that was the very chaotic, but very enjoyable also round 3 at Netherlands in the OFI for F1 24. I hope you enjoyed. Here's the standings following round 3. And round 4 at Monza has also been completed. There's 2 races left, and so I'll make a video for Monza for those that are interested. I want to see that race. It has an equally exciting finish. So I'll see you then.